What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about why Davy Jones is the best villain in the Pirates of the Caribbean universe. So, a very, very different video, but I felt this was something I wanted to talk about. It's been a long time since I've talked about Davy Jones. I brought him up in a video a few weeks back, and I thought, dang, I really think, I think back to his arc in Pirates 2 and 3. I think back to what they could do with 6 if that does end up happening. Obviously, the ending of 5, right? I just keep thinking, Mother of God. I mean, he really was. I would go so far to say he's my favorite. Well, for me personally, he's my favorite villain of all time. Of any, any game, any movie, he's my favorite villain. I think he has just a beautiful, literally beautiful arc, and that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video is his arc and why I believe, when we compare him to other Pirates villains, we don't have that many to compare him to. Okay, there's really only like 4: Barbossa, Beckett, if you want to go there, Blackbeard, and Salazar. Those are really, I mean, could you come up with any others? Those I think would be the other bit. I mean, the Kraken doesn't really count. So those would, I guess, be the big 4, and then Davy Jones would be 5. And I mean, I personally don't even think it's even a competition. Salazar and Blackbeard, I think, are almost god-awful. So one of them is slightly above god-awful. Then when you have Barbossa was a phenomenal villain in the first movie. I think he was really, really good. And I think he became maybe the best character. Now, not necessarily the most likable. Like, obviously, people really like Jack. But I think Barbossa has probably the best character arc of any character in Pirates of the Caribbean, maybe besides Davy Jones. But Davy Jones doesn't really have an ending to his arc, and maybe they could do that in a Pirates 6, right? But because of that, and I don't even actually think that holds Davy Jones back, but because Barbossa, I would say, is just a better character than a villain, he doesn't really make it. And then Beckett, Beckett was actually really awesome in his own ways, very menacing and very just powerful, right? Without really being, and that's kind of the thing with Beckett, right? It's like Davy Jones was powerful because of his group, the Flying Dutchman, the Kraken, but also himself. Like, he was a very good swordsman. He obviously couldn't really be killed, all that stuff. I mean, he was very powerful, and he was like cool to look at, all that good stuff. Beckett was pretty much powerful just because of his forces. He had a lot of money. He had a lot of just men. He had a lot of power, especially when he got Davy Jones's heart. But him himself it wasn't like laughable. You don't laugh because obviously, again, he has so many people around him, but he really, like, one-on-one, he's absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? So I think, to me, it's a very easy verdict to kind of give it to Davy Jones. But let me say this about Davy Jones, to talk about his arc really quickly. Again, absolutely beautiful. And I've said this before. I mean, we've been talking about Pirates for almost, 4.5, almost 5 years on this channel. And, we talked about him back when Pirates 5 just came out, all that stuff. He's really not a bad guy. That's what I want to say. He's really not a villain. And I think that is, now, I just said, like, the whole Barbossa thing, right? I mean, obviously, okay, he is the antagonist of Pirates 2 and 3, okay? There's a lot of antagonists in Pirates 3 and technically in 2 as well, but to me, he's the one that stands out the most, okay? But in reality, he's kind of a victim because he really didn't do all that much bad whatsoever, okay? Calypso obviously imprisoned him and, like, made him, what you see of him now. Now, he had a very straightforward job that he didn't do, but you could say, well, was that the greatest deal in the world for him to, did he exactly deserve to be that farrier between worlds forever? No, he probably, he kind of got the short end of the stick there, but he also taught the Brethren Court how to imprison Calypso. So, like, did he kind of deserve it? I mean, maybe, but, I mean, generally, he did, in a way, do it to himself, right? He didn't fulfill the duties of it. However, again, that goes into, well, was that really his fault? Because he even said, right, he did do the job, and then when he went to see Calypso, she wasn't there. And then after that, he was like, well, I'm not doing this job anymore. This job sucks, and I'm only doing it for one reason. And then she, like, ditched me. And her reasoning was like, that's just the way that it is. That's the way that I am. And it's like, oh, good excuse, right? So, like really, all of these things were kind of just against him. And then, yes, okay, he was evil. I mean, the whole imprisoning people and having them work on his ship, like, forever. And, just all, I mean, you look at, really, the evil parts of him are kind of, not even necessarily explained, but they're more or less shown to you the first half of Pirates 2, because then after that, it really becomes like just a straightforward race for the chest. And then in 3, Davy Jones is literally just a prisoner. He's not really doing anything, and I would even argue next to nothing bad. Now, yes, he is tasked with like just killing every single basically pirate ship or pirate that he sees, in existence, but it's not even really him doing that. Like, maybe, yes, he still would have done evil stuff on his own if he was just left alone, but like, he wouldn't have been doing that. And besides that, he actually did next to nothing in Pirates 3 because he really couldn't, because he didn't have his own freedom. And again, that's what I absolutely love about him is, yeah, he was menacing, and yeah, he did do some pretty nasty stuff, especially in the first half of Pirates 2, and the whole, Jack thing, right? So, like, he lifts the pearl back up, but then he's going for your soul in like 13 years after or whatever. So, that's obviously, again, you could argue if that's good or not, but again, like, this just adds, I think, depth to his character. Truly, I mean, there is so much of it. And then in Pirates 3, learning about all of that, learning why he is the way he is, and then again, like, he's really kind of a victim of Pirates 3. He's in the middle of just everything. Beckett has the heart. He's like, I just want the gosh darn heart back. Then they're trying, Jack and his crew are trying to get, like, all of this stuff is going on. He's just like, leave me alone. I mean, in the end, he has to fight Will. He has to fight Elizabeth. He has to fight Jack. And his ship is battling, the Black Pearl. Like, all of this stuff, just because that Beckett basically told him to, he has to fight like an actual army by himself. Actually, well, okay, technically it was a 1v1 ship, and I know people actually wanted all of the ships. Trust me, I did too. Back then, I was like, why? It's a great scene, okay, having all the ships and showing all the pirate lords and stuff. Like, that is absolutely amazing. But and I get it was the most expensive movie in the history of cinema at the time, and I still think it's like top 5 right now, even like 14 years after it came out. And with that being said, like, if they would have done more ship battles, I mean, that would just obviously increase the budget even more. So I give them some slack there. But that's an important part too. So one of the reasons why I've always loved Davy Jones too was when Pirates 2 ended. I think I've told this story before. When Pirates 2 ended, I didn't know, because I was young, the internet, we had like dial-up internet, okay, so it took a very long time to get on the internet. I did not know they were making a third movie. I was like, okay, well, when the heck are they going to solve the Davy Jones problem? And then when they ended it, it was like, dear gee, they just killed Jack. And then obviously the Davy Jones stuff, it's like, oh, okay, they're making 3. In my head, for the entire time between 2 and 3, I was like, I need to see Davy Jones fight. That's the one thing I wanted as we were getting towards the end of Pirates 2, was to see the man fight. That's all I wanted to see, like, see him sword fight. And then when the trailer came out for Pirates 3 and we got to see that spin around shot with the beautiful music going on of Jack and Davy Jones fighting on top of like the mast, I was like, yes. I can't even express. I've never been so happy watching a trailer. Okay, truly. Like, I guess I've teared up sometimes watching trailers, just like, thank God it finally exists and stuff like that. But I mean, something like that just made me so happy. And so, yeah, maybe that doesn't necessarily make him, a great villain, the fact that he can sword fight. But to me, that just elevated it, because, again, he's kind of got all the qualities. And here's the last thing I'll say. The thing that I love about movies, about games, about TV shows, when it comes to villains, is I am part of the group that wants villains to truly just be a small little, tweak on the hero, and that they just see things slightly different, and that they're not bad just to be bad. They're bad because they oppose the guy you're supposed to like, or the girl you're supposed to like, right? But they, you can understand where they're coming from, okay? That's what I wanted from Blackbeard. That's why, and that does not happen. Blackbeard is just bad. Salazar, I was praying. We talked about it on this channel. Please make Salazar a good villain. And he was not. You want to know why? His entire reason for being evil was summed up in one sentence when he said, like, the pirates killed his father, and that was it. Then he decided that he needs to kill all pirates, and it's like, okay, quite a jump. And you explain that in one sentence in your flashback with the young Jack. That was the explanation. And when they did that, I was sitting in the theater and I was like, dang, there was their chance gone. They just absolutely blew. Like, I thought that in my head. Okay, so that was annoying. But again, for Davy Jones, the biggest thing, I mean, he's cool to look at. Like, the CG still holds up now. The sword fighting, amazing. His ability with the Kraken, I mean, all of this stuff. Again, his tragic kind of story, but that's part of it too, right? He really is. You can understand where he's coming from. He did do bad things, but really, the thing that started all was just imprisoning her. And then after that, he did do the job, and then she ditched him. She literally broke his heart. That's why he had to stab out his heart and hide it in a chest, because she broke it. So to me, it's like, that's so, I mean, beautiful is a weird word to carving out your heart, right? But I mean, it's just such a cool arc where it's like, he really isn't all that bad. And then even with the Jack stuff, I think I've said this before too, like, kind of it's Jack's fault. I mean, Jack knew when he was bringing up the pearl, he didn't have to get the pearl. He didn't have to make a deal with Davy Jones at all. I mean, we don't necessarily know because it's a book, and is it necessarily even canon anymore and all that stuff, right? But I mean, all we know is, like, Davy Jones rose the pearl, and then he said, like, hey, Jack, I'm coming. You're gonna work for me in like or whatever, however many years it was, right? And so like that, I mean, Jack signed that deal. You know what I mean? Maybe he didn't necessarily sign it, but he knew that, and then he didn't want to do it, and so that started the entire thing. Davy Jones was like, I'm just coming for you. Like, I just want you. That was literally our deal. And Jack's like, nah, I'm going to break the deal. And so really, again, like, it's all kind of like tragic, where like, he's not necessarily doing much of anything. You know what I mean? It's kind of just all these circumstances that are happening. So I love him. I think he's a phenomenal villain. Again, not just in Pirates of the Caribbean, but in general. If they do him in 6, they better do him right. With 6 maybe not even happening, obviously that would go out the window. But we'll have to see if we ever see Davy Jones again. If we don't, that's okay, personally, because they did the best they possibly could with that character. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? What do you think about Davy Jones? What do you think about his arc? Any of that stuff, let me know. Let me know if you want me to do this with other characters. I'd love to. I did a full history of Jack Sparrow back when Pirates 5 was coming out, and it did insane for the channel. So I can do stories with these characters. I can just talk about them, how I think of them. Any of it. It doesn't have to even just be villains. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. If you haven't followed me on Twitter yet, please do. PodcastNow15 is my Twitter handle. I'll leave a link for it in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.